Within the next minutes, we will expose the dark, psychological truth behind the millions of people whose primary, most trusted confidant is not a human, but an animal. This isn't about companionship. It's about a profound, silent referendum on human connection itself. We will prove that this bond is not a simple substitute, but a complex, trauma-informed survival strategy that both masks a deep wound and, paradoxically, holds the key to healing it. The benefit of this uncomfortable truth? For the person who feels more understood by a silent creature than by a speaking human, understanding this psychology is the first step out of the invisible cage. It is the blueprint for why human bonds have failed them, and the terrifying, beautiful reason an animal's love feels like the only pure thing left. Consider the man who spends his evenings not at a bar, but meticulously preparing a meal of grilled chicken and steamed vegetables for his dog, plating it with a care he never affords his own frozen dinners. His conversations are murmured into a furry ear after midnight, confessions of failure and fear he has never uttered to another soul. Or the woman whose phone's camera roll is 1,000 portraits of her cat, whose panic attacks subside only when she feels the vibration of a purr against her chest, a living, breathing anxiety medication. These are not quirky anecdotes. These are data points in a silent epidemic. These people are not merely pet owners. They are architects of a sovereign state for two, where the currency is unconditional regard and the borders are closed to the chaos of human expectation. The outside world sees a person with a pet. The internal reality is a sanctuary, guarded by 4 legs, fur, and fathomless, non-judging eyes. The psychology here is rooted in what is absent, not what is present. It begins with a foundational betrayal. For many, the human relational blueprint is a document stained with trauma. The unpredictable parent, the cruel peer, the abandoning partner, the friend who faded away. Human love, in their experience, is a conditional contract written in invisible ink, terms that can change at any moment, leaving them in breach. The pet offers a radical alternative, a contract of unwavering terms. It is a bond free from the labyrinthine complexities of language, subtext, and social manipulation. There is no backhanded compliment, no passive aggression, no betrayal hidden behind a smile. This creates a psychological safe room. In a world where people feel like they are constantly decoding malice or indifference, the animal's responses are gloriously, mercifully literal. Food, shelter, gentle touch, predictable routine, these are the pillars of the bond. It is a relationship stripped of the dark psychology that defines so many human interactions. The animal does not gaslight, it does not love bomb, it does not ghost. Its consistency is a balm for a nervous system wired for human caprice. The science backs this dark refuge. Studies in the field of the human-animal bond show that interaction with a pet triggers the release of oxytocin, the so-called bonding or love hormone, while reducing levels of cortisol, the primary stress hormone. But here is the black pill. For the deeply lonely, this biochemical exchange isn't just pleasant, it's medicinal. It's a corrective experience for a brain that may associate human closeness with threat. MRI scans have shown that when people look at photos of their pets, the activation patterns in the brain's reward centers can mirror those seen when parents look at photos of their children. This isn't a trivial connection. It signifies a deep neurological hijacking. The brain has rerouted its pathways for attachment and safety onto a non-human target. The pet becomes a psychobiological lifeline. Furthermore, research into social support consistently highlights unconditional positive regard as a critical factor for mental well-being. People struggle to find this in other humans. They find it or project it perfectly onto the blank screen of their animal's gaze. The animal's silence is not an emptiness, it is a canvas upon which the lonely person can project a perfect understanding, a reflection of their own need for purity in connection. But within this sanctuary lies the first dark twist, the psychological trap disguised as salvation. The very perfection of the bond can become a barrier to human re-engagement. Why brave the terrifying, exhausting minefield of human connection when one has a perfect, low-maintenance source of oxytocin at home? The pet becomes a behavioral sinkhole. It absorbs all the affection, care, and conversational energy, leaving less fuel for the harder work of building human bridges. Social skills, already atrophied, can wither further. The person may begin to unconsciously compare every human interaction to the flawless, silent support of their animal, and every human will inevitably fall short. A friend cancels plans. The dog is always excited to see them. A partner needs to talk about difficult feelings. The cat just curls up and purrs. The animal, in its perfect simplicity, inadvertently lowers the tolerance for the necessary complexities of human intimacy. This sets up a feedback loop of isolation. The more fulfilling the pet relationship, the less pressing the human one seems, leading to deeper immersion in the animal bond, which further alienates from human circles. It is a gilded cage of one's own making, where the lock is opened by a wet nose and the walls are padded with fur. To visualize this trap, consider the story of Leo. Leo was a software engineer whose world had shrunk to the glow of his monitor and the warm weight of his old Labrador, Bear. After a devastating professional betrayal and a subsequent romantic breakup he attributed to his neediness, Leo found human interaction unbearably risky. Conversations were scripts to be analyzed for hidden meaning, but with Bear, it was effortless. Leo would talk about his code, his fears, his memories. Bear would listen, thump his tail, and offer a head for stroking. Leo's social outings became trips to the dog park, but even there, his focus was on Bear. He'd exchange pleasantries with other owners, but the moment the conversation veered toward personal details, "What do? You live around here?" Leo would find an excuse to throw a ball, to disengage. Bear was his social shield. The crazy, heartbreaking detail? Leo began to schedule his life around Bear's routines with a monastic devotion. He rejected a promising promotion because it would require 2 months of extensive travel, and he couldn't impose on someone to care for Bear properly. His world became perfectly safe, perfectly loving, and perfectly small. Bear was not just his best friend. Bear was the warden of a prison Leo had built to feel free. The animal gave him everything he thought he needed, while systematically insulating him from everything he actually needed to heal. This brings us to the darkest psychological claim of all. For some, the pet is not just a friend, but a living monument to their own trauma. The care they lavish, the premium food, the designer beds, the anxiety medications, the extensive photo shoots, is often a redirected form of self-care they feel unworthy of giving themselves. It is an externalization of their own neglected inner child. They cannot parent themselves with such tenderness, so they parent the creature that depends on them. Every vet bill paid without hesitation is a silent protest against the times their own pain was minimized. Every gentle word spoken to an anxious animal is the gentle word they never heard. The relationship becomes a performance of the perfect love they crave, with themselves as the director and the pet as the stand-in. This is a profound, unconscious psychological operation. It allows them to experience love by proxy. They feel the love they give, and they interpret the animal's dependence and responsive affection as the love they receive. It is a closed, self-sustaining emotional circuit. It is beautiful in its devotion and tragic in its confession, I cannot love myself, so I will love this innocent being as a vessel for all the love I possess and deserve. Where does this leave the person whose soul is mirrored in an animal's eyes? At a crossroads. The pet bond is a diagnostic tool of immense power. It reveals the exact dimensions of the human-shaped hole in their life. It shows what they value: loyalty, consistency, non-verbal understanding, freedom from judgment. But to mistake the tool for the destination is the ultimate self-help trap. The animal is the life raft, not the shore. Its purpose is not to be the final destination for a human heart, but to keep it afloat long enough to repair the ship. The pure, uncomplicated love of a pet can recalibrate a broken understanding of what safety feels like. It can rebuild a baseline of trust, starting from the simplest interaction. I reach out with care, and I am met with acceptance, not harm. This repaired baseline is the foundation upon which human connection can be slowly, carefully reattempted. The psychology is not about giving up the animal bond. It is about understanding its true function as a transitional object, a therapeutic bridge, a proof of concept that love can exist without betrayal. The person who learns to receive the silent love of their pet is learning, in the deepest possible way, how to once again become worthy of connection. They are practicing, on a safe subject, the very vulnerability that human relationships require. But this is only half the story. The sanctuary can become a crypt. Now we will descend into the specific dark pathologies this bond can create, the escalation into obsession, the fantasy replacements that erase human need entirely, and the terrifying psychological horizon faced when the one perfect love in a life is programmed by nature to die decades before its keeper. We will explore the cases where the pet is not just a friend, but a god, a child, and a replacement for an entire species, and what happens to the human soul when that god inevitably falls. This is where the psychology turns darkest, and the path to real healing truly begins.
The bond is a sanctuary, but every sanctuary, if never left, becomes a tomb. We have seen how the psychology of the person whose best friend is a pet is built on a foundation of trauma and calibrated for safety, a brilliant biological workaround for a human connection that feels too dangerous to navigate. But this workaround has a dark evolutionary flaw. It is not built to last a human lifetime, and within the very perfection of this silent pact lies the seed of a deeper, more paralyzing isolation. This is the second half of the truth. For some, this relationship doesn't just supplement human connection, it actively warps the psyche, creating a closed universe for two that follows its own terrifying rules. The animal is no longer just a pet, it morphs in the lonely human mind into something far more potent and dangerous, a god, a child, and a mirror that reflects back not reality, but a fantasy of perfect understanding. This escalation often begins subtly in the gray areas of social comparison. A person starts to genuinely believe their animal is superior to most humans. "He's more loyal than any man I've ever known," she says of her dog. "She listens better than my friends," he says of his cat. This isn't just a cute sentiment, it's a value judgment that devalues an entire species. The brain, in its drive to protect this primary source of safety, begins to rationalize why this must be true. It cherry-picks memories of human betrayal and contrasts them with the daily, predictable faithfulness of the animal. This creates a psychological feedback loop that confirms the misanthropic bias. The world is split cleanly in two: the pure, innocent, trustworthy world of the animal and the corrupt, unpredictable, painful world of people.
To venture back into the human world is not just socially awkward, it feels like a moral betrayal of the only being that has ever been truly good to them. The pet becomes a moral litmus test for others. If you don't understand my bond with him, you are not a good person. This erects a formidable barrier, screening out potential human connections that don't immediately genuflect before the animal. The relationship has moved from personal solace to a private religion, with the pet as its silent deity and the owner as its devoted and only acolyte. This devotional path leads to what psychologists might call fantasy bonding. The silent, receptive nature of the animal allows the human to project a full spectrum of complex thoughts and emotions onto it. The person isn't just talking to their pet, they are scripting both sides of the conversation in their own mind. They provide the witty retort, the sage advice, the perfect empathy they crave, and they see it reflected back in a tilt of the head or a slow blink. The animal becomes a vessel for an internal dialogue, a hallucination of perfect rapport. Consider the story of Anya. After a lifetime of familial neglect where her feelings were dismissed as dramatic, Anya found her soulmate in a rescued greyhound, Ghost. Their connection was intense and wordless. Anya would come home from her draining job, and Ghost would meet her with a serene, deep-eyed gaze. Anya would narrate her day, her injustices, her dreams. In the stillness that followed, she would feel Ghost's understanding. "He gets me," she'd tell her one remaining friend. "He knows I'm hurting. He's telling me to be strong." The crazy, revealing detail? Anya began making life decisions based on these silent consultations. She turned down a transfer to a city she'd always wanted to live in because Ghost seemed anxious during a visit to a busy park. She ended a budding relationship because the man had, in her view, looked at Ghost the wrong way, a judgment she formed based on the dog's momentary disinterest in the man's offered treat. Ghost was no longer a dog, he was an oracle. His every yawn, every sigh, every shift in posture was interpreted through the complex lens of Anya's own needs and fears. She was living in a folie à deux with a creature whose primary motivations were food, comfort, and sleep. The relationship had become a beautiful, airtight psychosis. This fantasy extends into a powerful, often unconscious, parental drive. For many, especially those who feel their own childhood was lacking or who fear the complexities of human relationships, the pet becomes a surrogate child. The psychology here taps into the deepest human instincts for nurture and legacy. People speak of their fur babies, celebrate their birthdays, and experience a primal fear at the thought of their harm. Neuroscience shows that the same caretaking networks in the brain light up when caring for an infant and when caring for a pet. But for the lonely person, this channel is often the only outlet for these powerful instincts. The care is all-consuming, a total projection of their need to be needed in a pure, unambiguous way. A human child grows up, develops a separate will, talks back, and leaves. A pet's dependence is perpetual, its childhood eternal. This provides an endless well for the person to draw their sense of purpose and identity from. I am Ghost's mother. I am Leo's world. This identity is clean, noble, and socially acceptable, but it is also a cage of constant responsibility that leaves little room for the messy, reciprocal demands of an adult human partnership. It is a one-way street of care that feels safer than the chaotic intersection of mutual need between two adults. The person becomes a parent to a creature that will never grow up, committing to a lifetime of caring for a being that can never care for them in the way a mature human could. All these threads, the deity, the oracle, the child, converge on the single, inescapable, dark heart of this bond, its built-in obsolescence. The pet is a mortal god. This is the psychological horizon event that every person in this sanctuary, tomb, knows is coming, a shadow that lengthens with every passing year. The very biology that makes the bond so pure, the animal's shorter lifespan, guarantees its ultimate devastating rupture. This looming loss is not like the loss of a human. There is no complicated legacy, no unresolved arguments, no ambiguity of feeling. It is the loss of pure, uncomplicated love. It is the loss of the primary witness to one's private life. For the person whose social world has contracted to this single point, it is not a loss, it is an apocalypse. Their entire psychological ecosystem, their source of oxytocin, their reason for routine, their silent confessor, their identity as a caregiver, is facing annihilation. The anticipation of this loss can create a state of perpetual low-grade mourning, a pre-traumatic stress that colors every moment of joy with a tinge of dread. They find themselves staring at a sleeping animal, gripped not by peace, but by a visceral terror of the future silence. This anticipatory grief can be so paralyzing that it further shuts down any attempt to build human connections as a backup, because that feels like a betrayal, an admission of the coming end. When the loss finally arrives, the psychological impact can be catastrophic in ways the outside world often fails to comprehend. Society offers the script for losing a parent, a partner, a friend. The script for losing a pet is seen as lesser, a grief to be gotten over quickly. But for the person whose best friend was that animal, they haven't lost a pet. They have lost their God, their child, their therapist, and their only family. The silence in the home is absolute. The routines are ghost limbs. The conversations in their head now have no recipient, turning into agonizing monologues. Studies on pet loss show it can trigger major depressive episodes, exacerbate existing anxiety disorders, and lead to symptoms nearly identical to those of post-traumatic stress disorder. The person is not just grieving a creature, they are grieving the collapse of their entire carefully constructed world of safety. They are suddenly, violently cast back into the human world they had forsaken, but now they are bereft of the life raft that kept them afloat. This is the ultimate price of the sanctuary. Its destruction leaves the survivor more vulnerable, more traumatized, and often more deeply misanthropic than before. If this pure love ends in such pain, the psyche reasons, why would I ever risk the impure, complicated love of a human?
Yet, within this devastating crucible lies the paradoxical key to the very healing we began with. The perfection of the pet bond and its inevitable, heart-shattering end serves as the ultimate diagnostic. It clarifies with brutal honesty what the human soul is capable of: profound, selfless love, unwavering devotion, and the capacity for deep grief. The animal's purpose, in the grand, dark psychology of this relationship, was never to be a permanent replacement. It was to be a teacher. It taught the person, through a safe, simplified model, that they are capable of bonding, that they can sustain love, that their care has value. The tragedy occurs when the student confuses the training tool for the purpose of the training. The real, terrifying work begins in the ashes of that loss. It is the work of redirecting that capacity for love, now proven, now undeniable, back toward its intended target, other humans, and critically, oneself. This is the black pill self-help resolution. It does not sugarcoat. It states the dark truth. The pet was a bridge, a beautiful, necessary, life-saving bridge. But to remain on a bridge is to live in perpetual transit, never reaching solid ground. The bridge, by design, must be crossed. The psychology demands a translation of the language learned from the animal. The person must learn to seek in themselves the unconditional regard they gave to their pet. They must become the source of their own safety.
They must offer themselves the same meticulous care, the good food, the gentle words, the protection from harm that they lavished on their dependent. This is the hardest step, to become their own keeper. Then, and only then, can they begin the perilous work of seeking human connection, not from a place of desperate need, but from a place of proven capacity. They must look for the fragments of that animal-like purity, moments of loyalty, flashes of non-judgmental silence, acts of simple care within the flawed, beautiful complexity of other people. They will not find the whole, perfect reflection, but they may find pieces, and in the exchange of those pieces between two wounded, complicated humans, something more durable than sanctuary can be built, a mutual, conscious choosing, day after day. It is messier, riskier, and far less pure, but it is real. The shadow of the silent, perfect friend will always be there, a bittersweet reminder of a love that asked for nothing but a bowl of food and a kind hand. Its final lesson is the most brutal and liberating of all, that the purest love was never meant to be a destination, but the proof that the heart, no matter how broken, is still capable of the journey. The cage door was never locked from the outside. It was held shut by the fear of losing the one perfect thing inside, and the key was always in the hand that fed.